everyone, Joe here from Action X. Welcome to What's on the Tube, or welcome back if this is your 11th DC Stargirl Season 3 episode review. I'm sorry my voice sounds really used up. I had one of those attacks when I drink. So my dad, he does this lemon lime vinaigrette, and he puts sometimes a lot too much pepper. So I drank it to end off my meal before I recorded, and I found out there was way too much pepper in it as usual, but I coughed it up so much that my throat is damaged right now. So I'm speaking this very small monotone way. And also the fact that I coughed so much because it was used so much pepper that my family, my mother thought, "Do you have COVID?" I'm like, "No, I just drank too much pepper." I'm like, "Your dad needs to stop putting too much pepper in the salads." I'm like, "Agreed," but now this is the consequence of my actions. However, on this week's episode of Stargirl, this is probably like picking up from last week's cliffhanger. It definitely feels like this could have been its own. Like if Stargirl was like a movie, or like if this was like kind of like a more mini series, I feel like this would have been like this is where like shit's really hitting the fan. It feels like this is the last of the emotional setup before we get to the more crazier moments next week. Because mild spoilers ahead, like the promo for next week is only one scene. Like it's literally just taking up scenes from one of the scenes, and that's it. We don't see anything else. So next week's episode, I think, might break a lot of people's hearts, or it might break our minds, or something like that. We don't really know. But this week with Icicle's return, it definitely painted as well as I expected to. I'm not trying to say it's formulaic. It's like, oh, I predicted this and that. It kind of followed through for a T, but it also, I feel like that was the benefit of spending time with these characters instead of like going straight into like action, action, action. We took a moment, we took a break, and we took time to like actually realize what are their current stances, what are they currently fighting for, and then by the time we get to this big reveal, like, yeah, as much as it does look a little formulaic, like a little too simplistic for even a superhero show, and that's like kind of one of the downsides when when you've done so many hero versus villain stories as well as in general superhero story, is that this type of trope kind of seems familiar, but the benefit was the characters, where they're standing for, and how much more valuable things are, and how much they're standing for. And I think this helped the episode a lot. Otherwise, this would have been a very simplistic, like, okay, that was kind of like meh. So thankfully, their wise setup of like the characters definitely helped elevate this episode from a simplicity factor to at least very good. But I want to talk more about that. So let's go through the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of Stargirl. So we pick up where last week's episode left off, getting a little bit of a recap of sort. So yes, Icicle's alive. He's back in action. Exactly how did he come back? Well, that's still one of those, like, it's literally the comic book trope of like, it's really stretching the reason they're using. I could see it happen because technically there is no scientific way to accurately produce this. It's just coincidental comic timing to bring back an old villain. And so what happened was, after Mike killed them with the car at the end of season 1, apparently he evaporated all the leftover ice, which I don't think I don't even think they were thinking, because again, they don't even know what the anatomy is of like, what do you do when you kill an icicle person? You really don't know. So he melted into water and he went into the sewer system. I guess eventually over time he kind of started like gaining coherent form again, but however his sanity wasn't there, and eventually he kept himself hidden in like this like very compressed suit, so that maybe he has a better chance of like keeping the humanoid form. And then eventually that's when we come back up to present day, when Sportsmaster and Tigress went down to go check what the heck's going on. That's when they discovered him, and by that point he had already achieved a more like regular version of himself, a bit like, even like the way that they put the makeup on him, like, because there was a bit of makeup on this one, it definitely seems like this is a guy that's just put together. Like, this does not seem like a natural being, and I'm gonna give a shout out to the makeup department for like putting that much work into him. Like, it's not very obvious. You have to notice it a little bit more. It's subtle, but it actually does work to the character, indicating like this character's been through a lot. This last year has not been easy for him. That he had to suffer through a lot of mental battles and a lot of physical pain to become where he is right now. So I'll give kudos to them on that front. Anywho, so where do we pick up with that? So I want to say we regroup back at the house. So it's everyone, all the main members of the Whitmore Dugan family, Sylvester, Yolanda, who's technically not living there, and also oh god, I forgot. I remember his name from last week, and I forgot again. It's New Thunderbolt. I've already forgot. I apologize. I mean, I'm pretty sure the name it'll come back to me, but it's already gone. It's my brain is like dead. Anyway, so yeah, so they're regrouping about like the threat of ultra humanoid, and the fact that yeah, he will come back for them. He will guaranteed to try and kill them. So they need everyone's hands on deck to take him down. So they need the whole JSA, Sylvester, the McKents, at the time Sportsmaster, Tigress, and even Artemis, everyone that they can get in contact with to come back to town and like take this guy down, because this guy literally is the epitome of strength. So they all agree that's the plan, that's the direction they need to go to. Obviously, of course, right now they need to figure out how do they make peace with the McKents, because right now it's not on good terms, considering the fact that, yeah, the grandpa and grandma do not like any of the adults, and of course, Cameron does not like Courtney, because right now Courtney made him believe that she was the one who killed Icicle, but not Mike, her brother. However, they get a knock on the door. It's Artemis, who says that her parents haven't come home last night. They haven't picked up their phone. She's worried about them, them, plus Yolanda and Beth hit up their last known trail, with Beth using her goggles to like track their movements. Rick's not there because they're not going to wait for him. Again, it's kind of weird. Again, like, Rick wasn't in this episode, and there's like, I feel like, sad to say, like, I know they're going to try and do their best to wrap it all up, but it's like, I don't really know how they're going to pitch the end game. To be honest with you, again, with 2 episodes left, I really don't know. But we'll see how the next couple of weeks go. But so either way, Rick's not there, so they're checking out the entire sewer cabinet. They eventually find the hidden surveillance room, which is where Icicle was watching them all throughout the past few weeks, picking things up, noticing things one by one. Eventually, however, they do find Sportsmaster and Tigress's mask, and they also they find their human remnants. Their DNA on the ground, and then Artemis. Beth tells Artemis they died, presumably from Icicle. So now everyone knows Icicle's back, but however, Artemis is currently grieving the fact that once again she lost her parents, this time permanently. Which, again, picking my comments up from last week, is that as much as this season I've been very cringy over them, I have to respect the fact they at least gave it a decent chance to redeem themselves, to actually live a normal life that wasn't being a supervillain, that wasn't being assassins, killers. They gave it a good go, and I feel like had the whole conflict with Ultra Humanoid and Icicle came about, I'm pretty sure they would have had a decent life. Of course, obviously Artemis would have gone on to do bigger things, but they would have had a very quiet, small town life, and they would have been happy. I think they would have been happy for a very long time. And honestly, it's heartbreaking, especially Artemis, who's like, back in season 2, like, she lost her parents, like, she couldn't physically be with them anymore, and then she was happy again at the end of season 2, where like, yeah, they're somehow they're scot-free, they're clear of the legal system, and now they were living together. And as at this point, where like she's lost them permanently, like, they're not coming back. This is not like Icicle, where like, oh, they're gonna these two were like regular human beings. Like, there is no resurrection for them. There is no connection to the staff or anything. There's no being sent to the Shadowland. No, they are absolutely 100% dead. And I feel so bad for Artemis. I really do. And and also my only downside to this is that we didn't get to spend more time with Artemis this season. I feel like if you would have spent more time with them as a family, I feel like it would have hit much harder than this. I know you're trying to get the implication that, like, yeah, they are a close-knit family, and again, I know, like, they already got so much going on, but I felt like, we'll talk more about this when we get to the season 3 reviews, but I feel like you could have added a couple more scenes where, like, they were really, like, being a family together, like, actually being one. But again, small nitpicks aside, it's still sad to see Artemis, like, now grieving in pain. Meanwhile, at the same time, as they discover Icicle has returned, before that, Courtney calls Pat, who is, of course, sad about the news. He also calls Barbara, who is taking it a little bit harder, because, like, Barbara is a much more sympathetic person. She's more attached, and I really think that she and Tigress were really on a good path of actually being really good friends. And the fact that that's cut short because of the return of Icicle, and I don't think that she's told that it was Icicle. I think she was just told, like, yeah, they died. We'll fill you in later, and then I couldn't even imagine, like, what she was going through. However, at the same time, back at the McKen house, Icicle shows up with his parents. I'll give it that this was like really well done, and I feel like the way that I view the scene is that well it goes from my own personal conversation with my dad, where he makes it clear a lot of times, especially in recent years, that he misses his parents, he misses them a lot, and he doesn't he always we're Catholic, by the way, so we believe in heaven. That's just our beliefs, that's what we believe in personally. I'm not gonna exposit that, but my dad always believes that when he eventually does pass away, that he does imagine like the moment he gets reunited with his parents, up in the clouds, in heaven, and being that it kind of reminded me of this. And that the fact that, yeah, as much as evil as they are, it's still two parents who generally love their son. And I felt that in this scene where like they were so shocked and in disbelief that their son is alive again, and that they're holding him again, they're hugging him again, and like and especially what Grandpa McKen just been for, like with his stuff, near death experience, like yeah, he's like, oh my god, I was not expecting this. I really wasn't. Cameron, however, doesn't have a much more um, similar reaction, because again, he was just told a lot of new details about his dad, that he was a supervillain, that he did a lot of bad things, and obviously he doesn't live up to it 100%. He does admit that like, he did what he did for good, but the thing is that the things he did wasn't entirely um it wasn't entirely accepted. So there's still a bit of fun of that. Even he addresses the whole Courtney thing about like, oh, Courtney didn't kill me, it was her brother. So she probably told you that a lie to defend her brother, which it doesn't matter anymore because I forgive them. Right now, like all I want to do is just, I got the second chance in life. I want to do better this time around. I want to like actually do things the right way, the right amount of change. That isn't anything of the sort. So he heads back over to the town hall and reclaims his status as like the leader. Which I'm pretty sure there had to be like a lot of paperwork. It's not like, oh, you just came back and like immediately you pick up where you left off. Though it's been a whole year of them moving on without you. So I'm pretty sure it's not that easy. But whatever the case may be, the show's wrapping up, so I don't think we're gonna get into the minute details of that. While everyone's praising Woodjoy over his return, Barbara isn't, because like obviously Barbara knows Barbara now knows the fact that, yeah, you killed the Crocs, as well as you tried to kill my daughter like last year. And she's like, I apologize for that, for last year. I'm a changed man. As for the Crocs, it was just an accident. I didn't really know. I was in full fight or flight mode. I didn't have really time to like think about it, so I sadly had to kill them. And again, I'm very thankful that Barbara stood her ground, and she's like, I'm not forgiving you yet. Like, this is something that we will figure this out, but like, I just know, like, if you do anything else, my family will defeat you. I think this is when we regroup back with Courtney's last call to inform them about Icicle's return was in Sylvester, obviously not taking this very well. He's exploring the barn that Mike and the new Thunderbolts arrived at, where they found Ultra Humanoid, and once he gets told the news that, yeah, Icicle's alive again, he does not react so fondly. He immediately destroys the barn, because again, remember, Icicle was the one that killed Sylvester the first time around, and at least in his heart, knowing that, okay, he's dead. I could take Dragon King coming back. I could take the Shade being alive. I could take the living next door to the Crocs, technically. He's fine with all that, somewhat. But the fact that Icicle, the one who actually like killed him, who put him in the ground for like a decade, is alive, is something that he's not accepting. He immediately is like, I need to kill him. The first chance I see him, I'm killing him. That's it. Then, it does not matter if there's like a redemption or anything. Like, he still killed me. I'm going to kill him. Of course, Pat's trying to talk him out of it, saying that, well, this is what we're told about him right now, that he's trying to change. Maybe we should hold off on things until we absolutely know for certain. Sylvester's not listening to him at all. Again, he's like venting all the fact that he's held up so much of their side. He's been protecting and backing up their decision, that it's time for them to return the favor and back up his decision and let him kill Icicle. I want to say this is around the same time where this episode kind of went by pretty quickly, in my opinion. It felt like pretty quickly to me. Where Mike and New Thunderbolt are once again trying to like do things their own way. They're going to try and wish away Icicle's powers away, so that he can maybe live as a human again without being a supervillain. But Thunderbolt tells them like he can't. Oh, Jakim's his name. He tells the kids like, yeah, there's no way I could do that, because the problem is, if I do that, That's the only thing that's keeping him alive right now. Otherwise, he'll just literally collapse and be dead again. So that cannot happen. So they're like, shit. Cindy also comes back, and she's expressing like, okay, now that she's back, she has to like help out everyone, like take down both threats right now. Not just Ultra Humanoid, but also Icico's return. So she's back, but she hasn't met the others yet. So she's just still on this team, Team New JSA or Young JSA or whatever you want to call them. We also get a scene where Artemis is in her room. She's kind of grieving in her own way, where she's trying to work out, but then she's just angry at the fact she didn't get to spend more time with her parents, and then she starts breaking down and crying. I guess around this time, Barbara decides to visit their house, and seeing Artemis all alone, she shouldn't be in this house by herself. And again, I really feel for the scene. Again, I haven't personally been through it of losing parents, but I will say that I feel the emotional resonancy of Artemis, where like you're alone, like you have no more family, like your parents are just gone. You didn't have a final goodbye; they're just gone, and the fact that she just doesn't know what to do about it. And thankfully Barbara is there to like help her, grieve and like figure out her next moves. There, like I can't even imagine what that pain must be. I can't even imagine. I mean, it's sadly gonna happen for me, and I'm sorry if I'm speaking so down on this episode, but it's the truth. It really does. Like they definitely like, as much as they could have hit it harder. It does hit a little hard. So I will give it that. Yolanda thinking like around like just the whole premise of like losing your parents and everything. She calls up her mom, just wanting to hear her voice again. And again, but she doesn't really go through it or anything. She just cries over the fact that she can never really go back, because again, like if she goes back, her parents are expecting for her to like tell everything, and she still can't do that yet. So whether or not there will be like a last minute resolution between them, I don't really know. But it just seems like Yolanda is willing to try and forgive and forget, but them letting them accept what she does is still like another. Will it happen? It's still 50-50. It's still out the window there. Courtney meets up with Cameron comes to meet by with Courtney, to tell her that like, yeah, I know, like, yeah, my dad's back. I'm pretty sure you know about it as well. I also know that it wasn't you who killed him, and like we're all trying, like, this is a chance that we can all use to like really move on. And yeah, Courtney's still bringing, I can't really trust your dad because he just killed the Crocs. If he didn't kill the Crocs, it maybe would be a little bit more beneficial in his favor, but it isn't. It really isn't. Like that one element is preventing her from like fully trusting him again, or him in general. And he knows that, but like it's like this is the best chance right now, to like actually be a real couple, to like give this a fair shot, with everything on the table again. They kiss, and Courtney is like, oh god, Courtney, you really got to stop. You stop. Like I feel like this is like her first love. I feel like that's the case here, and it just happens to be around the time where she's a superhero. So I'm like, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. I want. Am I getting any other scenes? I'm pretty sure I'm out of order here, but like I think the next big scene, and I know there's a scene where Cameron is where Icicle is just lamenting his thoughts and like figuring out what really is next for him. Like we know what he's about to do, but we don't know that entirely 100%. Anyway, so we cut to Sylvester and Pat back on the porch. So some time has passed a little bit. And Sylvester's still gun ho about like, yeah, I need to kill Icicle. It doesn't matter. Like I just need Courtney's permission to use the staff for this purpose, and I'll be good to go. Courtney shows up to the porch, tells them like, I get where you're coming from, but maybe, just maybe, there's a shred of him that's like willing to like change. And so it's like, nope, absolutely not. Like again, echoing what I said earlier was that I've backed you guys up every step of the way, since I came back. And as much as I disagree with stuff, I did it because I trust your judgment. Now it's time for y'all to like really trust me and let me kill him. Let me end this once and for all. But Courtney doesn't give her answer just quite yet. And I believe finally, I'm just trying to think one more time before we fully wrap it up. I think that was it. I really think I'm pretty sure I might be forgetting a scene or two, but like I think that was just the main gist of it. Is that Icicle is walking through the woods by himself, and then he runs into Ultra Humanoid, and immediately you just assume like, okay, are they gonna find? Is it like, was he telling the truth? Like, was he never on the same side as him? But like, nope, you could tell like, yeah, they're on the same time. They've been planning this. When he says like it's time, and like, yeah, Ultra Humanoid yells a roar, indicating like, yeah, they're ready to take on the JSA. Like now's the time. How will that all end up? We don't know. Because that was the end of this week's episode of DC's Stargirl. So for me, yeah. So Icicle's return, it felt very simplistic, like the sense of like I'm resurrected, I'm trying to change. Meanwhile, oh no, I'm still evil. I'm just playing a different angle this time around. Like it feels very similar to things I've seen before. It does feel generic. However, I think it's just the impact of it. Like, what are we fighting for this time? And I feel like that was the benefit Stargirl did this season, where we spent time with the characters. We spent time with Courtney developing her relationship with Cameron this season, going around, just all the different dynamics, all the different strains of other relationships that are handling on other relationships with the characters. And Icicle's return really throws a wrench in the tables of like, where do people stand on it? What is how far can you go to actually stop someone you stopped the first time? Like, there's just there's so many variables, with that. And I give the show credit for properly setting that up. And like, that definitely did help things out in the long run with this impact. Again, I would have been more, a little bit more feely if they spend more time with Artemis this season with her family. Cause yeah, they were just trying to establish like their Sportsmaster and Tigress were trying to change. We did spend time with that with Pat and Barbara, but we never really got to see what their relationship with their daughter was really like. We only got snippets of their here and there, but I felt like just we could have gotten more scenes of that, like because like Artemis was literally in the beginning of the season, then she disappeared for a long time. Then she just came back a couple weeks ago with the whole big fight with the McKen. So she disappeared. So I'm like, there could have been easily time to like fill in some scenes there, but they didn't. But again, it's not meaning to take away. I still feel like the impact was still felt. It just would have had an even bigger impact had we spend even more time with them, as a family. But either way, I still felt for Artemis so much, and her like. That's one of the downsides of like not getting a season 4 or just the show ending here. It's like we could have spent more time with grief and like the cost of our decisions had we continued on with a 4th season. I feel like that would have been a pretty good theme to follow suit, but we're not going to get that. So we're just really taking it on just the basis of just these couple seasons, whatever the next couple episodes are going to do for the characters. So that's what it is on that front. But you can still feel the weight of their loss, like feeling all the characters a little bit. Again, besides that, just seeing like where characters are aligning with Icicle's return and what does those final showdowns look like for the show, I really don't know. It can go either way. Again, next week's promo does not give me an easy thought that like there's going to be something big that's going to happen next week. Because again, we only got 2 episodes left. Like, we're going to have to hit big or go home. Like, we really don't know how things are going to shake out right now. But hopefully it'll end correctly. It'll end correctly. But for now, despite a very simplistic return, in my opinion, and a very simplistic plan, the characters' relationships were just enough to like elevate this episode to like a really good standard. So I'm going to give this episode 1.5 thumbs up. I still really enjoyed it. Just some nitpicks there and there. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. What did you think of this week's episode of DC Stargirl? Let's have a conversation down below. And I believe that's going to do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from Action X, reviewing every episode in the 3rd and final season of DC Stargirl. If you want to know what we're doing normally, What's the Two, besides our Stargirl episode reviews, we're currently doing Walker and Walker Independence episode reviews each and every week, as well as the Ricky Feds episode reviews each and every week, after brand new episodes on the CW and ABC. But if you don't care about DC Stargirl, we are off next week for Thanksgiving break. There is no brand new episode on the CW next week, so we will not have a new episode. We will return in December for the last 2 episodes of the entire show. So yeah, we come back in December. We have the last 2 episodes ever, and then we will go into a season 3 review just before the holidays begin for Christmas. So, and then that will be it. And we'll talk more about what happens next afterwards in 2023. But for now, that's just kind of like the roadmap going into these final weeks of the show. So remember, nothing next week. Nothing else on Walkers next week as well. Only Ricky Feds. But yeah, so that you know. But again, let me please, yeah. So again, this has been What's the Two from Action X. Please subscribe to us on youtube.com/ActionXvideos. Ring that bell for notification when our next episode review is live. Please also like, favorite, share if you want to, as well as ring the bell and follow us on social media. But until we see each other again, for all you Stargirls out there, enjoy your Thanksgiving breaks next week, or just in general your holiday break next week. But we'll see each other in a couple weeks for the last reviews. But until then, stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.